We're live. Howdy, howdy, hi. Hello, welcome to ABTG. I haven't even tweeted this thing. I'll tweet it later. I don't have a fancy intro like you guys. You guys have a countdown. I don't have one of those.
Oh,
I don't even know how to make one. Hello, hi. If there's anyone watching, I don't know yet. We've got Blue Spark saying, "Hey, Toddy, finally catching on one of your streams." Howdy, if you're still there watching. I am joined today by PJ, Boatwreck, unless he has like a fun Dexter related name to go by this time. No?
I should have thought of one, but I no.
Yeah. We're talking about Dexter New Blood, and maybe all of Dexter, but mainly Dexter New Blood today. Spoiler warning for everyone because we will be going, I guess, into detail. We'll be talking about the whole season and the finale and the big thing that happens. So, yeah. I don't really have any talking points. I just wanted to chat and discuss and take us away. What did you think? Did you enjoy the show, first of all? Like, did you enjoy the season that it is?
I enjoyed the limited series, mini series that it is. Uh, Obviously, spoilers for the whole thing. Just to jump right into it,
Yeah.
there's a specific reason why they weren't uh, playing around with the notion of another season, and they were remaining very tight-lipped about it. Well, for one thing, it was billed as a miniseries. It's supposed to be the final season of Dexter done right, because the last season was very disappointing for a lot of fans. At the very end, he's got a beard and he's a lumberjack and he doesn't say anything. It's just the cameras on him and like, oh, this is where he is now. Show's over. Deb dies, but the best thing they took from Deb dying, which was really off-putting when you watched it back in the day. Like I didn't like it as a fan. Like just
Oh, really?
the way that series unraveled was just so bad. But Dexter New Blood does a lot of reflecting on that at points, to the extent where Jennifer Carpenter has a role in this series as Deborah, Dexter Morgan's adopted ghost sister, who is like an extreme version of Harry from the series, which was his dad. That was the ghost that talked to him, and I can hear myself.
No, it's gone now, right?
Oh yeah, it's gone now. Yeah. So the Deb stuff was like really unexpected, like how violent and like aggressive she is as just a thing in his imagination. It's very clear that it's not one of these things where he's actually talking to her actual ghost. That's not what's happening.
No, it's very
It's
clearly him.
it's very clearly how Dexter as a psychopath deals with things, and he is a genuine bad person
Oh yeah.
that we watched all of these seasons of a TV show.
Oh yeah. He's the villain. He always was.
He is a villain, but the whole point of Dexter is like there are worse out there,
Or worse
and,
villains, yes.
and by him taking out like certain serial killers, he's technically saving lives.
He's like that necessary evil kind of thing that, you don't want to admit to needing to have. I think that's what they're going for with like the character.
He's Batman. He's like Snyder Batman. He just goes out and kills whatever. The only difference is Snyder Batman just doesn't he doesn't care about the evidence. Gordon lets him get away with everything.
But of
But
course, yeah, but of course there is like there are like innocent casualties.
yes, yeah.
And so that's what they deal with in this show.
Yeah, once Harrison catches on to what he's like, you have Deb like warning Dexter constantly, and that's part of his psyche. That's his rational human normal side, because that's what Deborah represented to him as a person. Like that's what kept him like in the world basically, because he's out there throughout the whole show, the previous show, killing people, but trying to be normal and being very good at it. And Deborah kind of helped him along with that, and of course they loved each other. I don't know how much. I don't know the extent of that, but people want to. It's a sore point in the original series, right? So the fact that she is so aggressive, and they do these milieus, I guess, or these setups, where one Deborah's like got a meat grinder, and like she's spraying all the body liquid at the hood of Dexter's car, and it's like so extreme, and then it just cuts away from it. It's back normal. It's
Mm.
like this is what's going on in this psychopath's mind, and the way it's filmed is like just it is like a 10-hour movie.
Yeah.
Like it really is a step up from the TV series. You go back and watch that TV series, it's very I wouldn't say cheap, but like it looks and sounds of its time. Even like the way people spoke and the kind of the
Yeah.
tropes of those kind of shows back in the day.
I would say though that like maybe I'm wrong, but I think it kind of pioneered um uh, I guess television a bit. Like conceptually, I found it to be very new, very fresh. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
compared to its contemporaries, I suppose, of the time.
Well, in the 2000, like in the end of the 90s with The Sopranos and like all of these shows like The Shield and stuff like that were like hardcore and dealt with main characters that were murderers, criminals, like seriously bad people, but somehow they made you want to watch them and their family
Mm.
like for seasons on end because you it's salacious. Like it's it's I wouldn't say it's melodramatic, but so some of the stuff they get into with Dexter, it's just how's he just constantly find Miami. If you just wanted to go to Miami and then you watch the season of Dexter, you probably wouldn't go because it seems like Miami is just like chock full of like the worst kind of scum. And the thing about Dexter New Blood is that the town he moves to, it consists of so many just nice, easy to get along with people that he's almost more able to control his tendencies because he's not being triggered in any kind of way. And
Yeah.
then the rich douchebag comes in and is simply just being an asshole. He's being nice, but he's being a prick. He's being passive aggressive and like, oh, give me my license, don't do the background check and all this stuff. And you see how that triggers him, and you're like, oh, this is the beginning of the end. And and the moment when he has that moment with the deer, the white deer, and boom, the dude kills it, and he's just so like so happy. And he's supposed to remind you, I guess, like of certain elitists like Donald Trump Jr. or some shit. So
Yeah.
you as an audience member are just as pissed off as Dexter.
Well, you
So
hate
when
him from the
so
get go.
when Dexter cold cocks him, you're like, oh, this is how it starts. And in some twisted way, you as a viewer, you root for Dexter at
Yeah.
points.
It's
But this show
bizarre
is so
because
clever at changing your mind about it toward the end.
the
You start to
moment,
see from Harrison's point of view, and then you start to realize, oh no, this is more fucked up than I realized.
no,
Because
really is fucked up. But the
when
moment this
Harrison's
guy
actually
arrives,
watching him dismember the bodies, it's you can see him turning and saying like, okay, this is. And when he finds out he kills the cop, that's it. Then Harrison has to take him out.
well, it's because there's a disconnect between like the I'm gonna say like the romanticized version of killing murderers and pedophiles and rapists and like the scum of the earth. There's this whole, I guess, romanticized image of like you're getting rid of them. Oh, it's almost like a heroic act. But then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you cut back to reality, and there's this guy that's literally dismembering people on a table with a saw,
Mm,
and like that's horrible, it's gruesome. And then
yeah.
so you go from Harrison's happy in a sense to be able to like witness and be part of the death of this horrible person, but then to actually stand there and watch him get cut up,
Mm.
like it really must fuck with you.
And from a narrative point of view, they make it very clear that Harrison is deeply disturbed. The way they film
Yeah.
it, how the blood goes down onto the floor and it's like inching toward his foot, and like the anxiety he feels and all this.
I
It's
almost thought they were gonna do something with that. I thought that he was gonna get blood on the end of his shoe, and that when he walked off, there would be like blood.
evidence.
and yeah, and then he would have put evidence. And I thought that, oh my goodness, like the whole thing of like having his son along, that's the final thing that created evidence against Dexter Morgan.
Did you think he was gonna? Did you think Dexter was gonna die in the end?
Okay, so I didn't. I was convinced he was not gonna die. Um, up until I watched the episode, because I truly believed that what they wanted to do was either spin off for another show, with Harrison, or carry on New Blood, like Dexter New Blood, with just Harrison as the main. And I thought that Dexter would like go to prison, and that would enable like the show to have him come back, as do a few cameo appearances now and then when Harrison goes to visit him or something like that. But the moment they hit, like they put the title card up for that episode, because they have the names. That's the only thing that I didn't really enjoy. I didn't like the ways that they wrote the names of of the episodes. Like they tried to integrate them into the scene. Every I thought that was a bit
Yeah.
cheesy, a bit corny. Maybe that's like a, I don't know. Maybe that's a holdover from like the time that Dexter came out. Anyway, the moment I saw Sins of the Father, and then the father, because it's written in ice, father kind of crumbles down the waterfall. I was like, oh, okay, so they're killing Dexter, because Sins of the Father, and then father's like crumbling. So I'm like, okay, they're killing Dexter this episode.
I thought he would go to prison or die, but I didn't know. I thought the girlfriend would kill him. Like she would find him out. He would like attack her, and but he did attack the cop though, and he killed the cop. So Jesus, that was pretty. But I knew that when he was going to meet up with Harrison with the blood all over his face, Harrison would ask like, "Whose blood is that?" I don't know. I didn't think about him telling him or whatever, but I knew Harrison would be concerned and not go with him. There would be a rift right at the end, because I was looking at the time in the last episode. I'm like, oh, geez, there's not much time left.
Mm.
He's obviously got to die. So, but I thought that before, but I also thought like of a prison thing where, but you know what? It's so fitting. I know some people were really upset.
Yeah, I
With,
wanted to
oh, it's
agree.
another shit ending. I'm like, no, not really. It's much better.
I wanted to agree
If you
with that.
watch it from beginning to end, it's a fucking damn good story. It
So
really is.
here's the thing. I'm gonna talk about that a bit. I wasn't satisfied with the last two seasons of Dexter, but I've always been like a strong defender of the finale itself, because I felt like the end was fitting for Dexter, because you don't want a happy ending for such a character. You would rather have him he needs to be punished, right? He needs to basically be in pain. And at the end of the show, the original show, everyone he's loved is like dead, or he can't see them anymore, and he's alone and he's chopping wood, and he's like in a situation where there's no one around. He can't even kill people technically, because he's alone in a forest.
Yeah.
So I felt that that specific finale was like fitting, because it's punishment, and now he has to live with the horrible things that he's done. But the last two seasons in themselves, I didn't like what they got into, and I didn't like the whole thing about this. What is it? She was a psychiatrist that was like her mother, that kind of stuff. I didn't like all of those things that they got into. And I see that so many people are now comparing or like trashing this finale as much as they were trashing the original finale. I'm like, no, yes, the big climb, like the big intense episode is episode 9. Like that's the big kind of thing in this short season. It's not episode
Yeah.
10, but I do think that
Episode 8 and 9 are like the climax of the story.
yes, because there's a thing about telling Harrison, and it builds up this tension about telling, like Dexter has to tell Harrison, he has to explain to him. But of course, in the real world, like actually admitting to someone, saying, "Look, I murder people," like that's a big thing. So of
Yeah.
course, it would make sense that you would kind of be hesitant to talk about it. But I do think that the finale, I do think that the final episode of New Blood actually works. And also, I have no problem with the fact that Batista was teased, dare I say, but never turned up. I don't have a problem with that.
Can we talk about Batista in this? You could have taken him out completely from
Yeah.
everything, given the cop the same amount of clues, not the same amount, but minus the thing she gets from, because the whole thing of her meeting her in the Batista in the conference is to get the information about Harrison oh, a guy named Dexter went away, and he had a son named and he's like trying to think of the name, he can't think of the name, and then he comes back, he's like, oh, it's Harrison, and then it's like, man, that's such a coincidence. That's like a contrivance. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not. It doesn't legitimately feel like a natural kind of flow in a story.
No, he does feel a
So,
bit shoehorned in.
but I was willing to overlook it, thinking, okay, what's his role going forward? And then he shows up in the last episode. He's like, I got all this vital information in a file.
I'm on my way.
I'll be there in the morning, and then it's all over by they don't even resolve that. They just leave it alone. Like, why even put it in there? Why didn't you just delete that from the fucking? But I guess you wanted to have a connection. They wanted to do some nostalgia thing where it's like, here's the connection to the original series. But you already had John Lithgow come back for a cameo as the Trinity Killer the night he killed Rita, Harrison's mother. So, I mean, the Batista stuff, I mean, it's cool to see him, but whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, what's the point? That's the only flaw.
He's died in Gotham since then.
That's the only thing in the entire miniseries that bothers me, I think. That's the only thing.
Really?
Everything else is pitch perfect, pretty much.
I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I also quite enjoyed like the kind of flashback to this crime that he committed back in Miami, or to like the clown killing that he did.
Oh yes. Do you think they digitally de-aged him there?
I don't know. I was trying to figure that out because he doesn't look that. I think they just did good makeup. I don't know. I couldn't tell.
There is a for whatever reason, Crave TV, when you watch certain shows, like the Star Trek shows, don't look that good. But then when you watch some of the newer HBO Max stuff, like Dexter or like like Saints of Newark or something like that, the picture quality is amazing. I think it's actual it never tells you on Crave the resolution you're watching it at. You just have to guess. But Dexter was like really it really looked good. Like on Crave, it was one of the best looking Crave.
The only thing that didn't look good in all of this was the white deal, the white buck. What do they call it?
Oh, the CG. Yeah.
But I don't hold it against it at all. It's like,
Yeah.
But you could tell that it was a CG thing, especially like when it flops to the ground. I think after that they might have used like I don't know, like a fake thing, like a physical
that flashback scene. I don't know when it takes place, if it's before Dexter the show or during the show. What, just a kill you didn't see, but he does look younger in that.
Okay. Because I'm sure the show didn't I'm sure the however many years, what is it, 8 years that we followed him through the show, like I'm sure we didn't see all of the crimes that all of the, I call them crimes, but yeah, they are. But I'm sure we didn't see all of the killings.
Oh, hundreds. We don't even cover half of.
Yeah, because he's got how many bodies in there? Like 150 something or whatever it is.
Well, he says in the hundreds. He tells.
Okay. Yeah, he's lost count.
He used to have the slide. He had one set of slides, and that Dokes took that or something.
I see you, Morgan.
Oh my God! They talk about Dokes and all the carnage. The more she finds out about him, that's what I love about the show. Her revelations, like, oh my God, I think my boyfriend is the Bay Harbor butcher.
Oh God!
And when she confronts him, man, it's really good, and how he manipulates her. It's like so well done, because that's who he is. He's not human. He's not a real person. He's just a manipulation machine. And the only connection you ever see him feel was like with Deb in the show or whatever, and Harrison. But in this, it's his son. And every time his son seems to embrace him, or his psychopathy, he's like, "Oh, son, oh, this is great." And like you have Ghost Step in the corner, like, "No, what are you doing? He could live a normal life, you fucking idiot." And that you as an audience member start agreeing with that. Maybe not at first because you're into like, oh, Dexter's back and all this all this stuff and like covering up murders and whatnot. But when you get to that Kurt stuff and they find the row of women, and you see the flashback of him as a, Clancy Brown's character. You see a flashback of him as a trucker picking up the cop's best friend from years ago. And it's all about him like, I want to take this girl and like shelter her from the outside world, because the whole theme about like his obsession is he has an obsession with runaways. That's why his theme in the show is actually the song Runaway. I've been walking in the rain, tears are falling and I feel no pain, wishing you were here by me to end this misery, and I wonder, I wonder, will she stay my little runaway? So that song's very fucking creepy in the context of like, his name is Kurt, right? I'm saying the Nancy Brown's character. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if I was getting his name right. I'm so bad at names when I watch a show just once.
But I was trying to figure out who she was. The podcast girl, Molly Park is the name of the.
Not Molly Park. There's a flashback when
no, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the girl, like the original girl that
Yeah, and she runs out of the truck and he shoots her, and that starts like the whole ritual of.
Yeah, that triggers his obsessive need to protect. The girls from like the dangers of outside, which he is the danger. The irony.
But it's this thing where the serial killer wants to relive the original moment over and over again. So that's why when the one girl he releases out of his basement.
Yeah, you fucked it up or whatever it is.
Doesn't do what he wants. It's like it's not even good for him. Like he's like, oh, I can't even. I don't know. I can't even say the word like get off or be satisfied by the ritual.
I guess it's like just a release because it's not even a sexual thing. Like
no.
They show you that he's not even a sexual creep. He just has this like he needs this. Yeah, it's like watching a satisfying GIF. He needs this like thing to satisfy him in this specific way.
Whatever gives the psychopath the maximum hit of dopamine.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's like, so when the girl doesn't do it right, he's like, "Oh no, you messed up."
And you can see him trying to reconstruct a face, and he's all like, "This isn't working at all. Fuck this."
What? His character is just as good as John Lithgow in.
Oh yeah.
In season 4 of Dexter.
When it comes to like Dexter villains, because usually the setup for like a Dexter season is you have like the small kills throughout the season, and then there's the one big villain, like the one big psychopath that he'll confront. This was a good one. Kurt was a good one.
This is a good show to watch again too, because when you go back, you start realizing, like, you start noticing things because of revelations further down the line. Like, for example, when the cop tells Kurt, like, we're gonna expand and look for your son, like, further out. You see Kirk's like anxiety, and you're like, I didn't even catch on to that the first time I watched it. I'm like, oh, obviously he doesn't want the cops to discover his lair of dead, preserved fucking doll women. Which is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in any kind of like murder show.
Yeah, that was really fucked up.
When she's walking through and she's looking at each one and naming each girl, that's fucked up. Like,
well, it gave me the I guess like Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac Killer. You know what I mean? Those kind of Seven, those movies, that kind of vibe. Which is like, it's really uncomfortable, and yeah, that's the kind of vibe I got from it. He was very well executed, honestly, like very well done. Did you understand immediately that he was the killer? Because for the first few episodes, they're showing you images, like they're showing you footage of like, well, they're showing you a guy murdering people, or a guy going through this. Did you understand it was him immediately?
It's only usually close-ups with him with a mask, so you're not meant to know exactly right away. I think I caught on pretty early. I can't really remember.
Okay.
It wasn't meant to be a Star Trek Discovery-esque drawn-out mystery. Which is cool because they only have 10 episodes in this, and they need to tell a complete story. It's like a novel. It really is. Like, you can see a novel in this 10 chapter story.
Well, from what
It's
you were saying before, apart from
very
Batista,
intricate.
Batista, that maybe is more of a. It was more of like, I guess, fan service.
Hmm.
It was more of like
Maybe.
a bit of a gift. Everything else is pretty much everything else that's in the show is very precisely placed there. Like there's no wasted time. You're never spending time watching scenes or dragging out moments that don't need to be dragged out. Maybe the teenage romance, um like they laid on a little thick, but then it's all part of like Harrison's story, and how like he's trying, I guess, to be as human as possible. Him, I don't know if he could have lived a normal life, honestly.
Well, that's the question. Like, will he embrace his dad's ways, or will he turn against him and kill him? And we found out the answer. And I think he's not like him, because he is Rita's son too as well. And Rita was such a gentle, kind. She was like the anti-psychopath. She was like so empathetic and caring. You know what I mean? Like she had a real instinct about her. So I think that combination in Harrison, you could have a show, technically a couple of years down the line, called Harrison, and it should never attempt to follow the formula of Dexter and have him just like, oh, there's somebody bad, gotta kill him, hide the body. No, 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 don't do that. Have him be more of a tough guy, in the sense that he's the hero that doesn't kill but he defends. But then somebody takes it too far, and then he has to like do the Dexter thing,
Well,
like, you know what
because
I mean?
Dexter always views the murders like Dexter views the lives that he took, whereas Harrison always relates to like the lives that he saved, right? Harrison says multiple times, like, think of all
Well,
the people that you've saved, think of all of the innocent people that lived thanks to this.
that's how Harrison is rationalizing it, and it's very good that they put that in the script and they have him say that, because it's like he's trying to convince himself of
Yeah, it
something
is
he
good.
knows that he does not agree with. And oh man, it's so good. And by the way, what do you think of the whole? See, in retrospect, you know what's going on, but at the time, like, why is Kurt so obsessed with Harrison? Why is he like grooming him and like trying to be his buddy and take him out? Like the whole thing about him coaching him in the wrestling match, and he breaks the kid's arm. And then Kurt is like, "Whoa!" at first, but then later he's like, "Yeah, way to go, kid." And Dexter's like, "What the fuck?" So it's like it's a bit hypocritical of Dexter to be, like jealous, because he's like, "This is my psychopath son. I'm gonna turn into a psychopath like me." But it turns out that Kirk was just planning to fucking kill Harrison.
Well, Kurt was he was just trying to hurt Dexter,
Yeah,
because you later understand that
that's
like
yeah,
Kurt knew that Dexter had killed his son from that very night where it was snowing ashes, right?
yeah.
Like he already
He
knew. He'd already
he
understood.
he went to the incinerator, I think, that night, and saw his son's
Screws.
screw titanium screws for his injury, which have serial numbers and you can trace them to like a specific person. But yeah,
So he already knew, and so I think it was
but
just a little payback. He was really trying to get back at Dexter.
that's that's
Jim.
one of the reasons why he turns around. Well, actually, before he said that his son was alive, before he found out he was even dead,
Mm.
so he's still keeping up the facade that his son is out there. So he then hires an actual guy to stay at a hotel under his son's name. Like he thinks ahead, right? Like, but he doesn't expect
But he's
the
a
cop
serial
the cop to
killer.
actually go to the hotel and
You'd
see
you'd
the footage,
expect
right?
them. You'd expect them to think ahead. Like you would expect them to be clever enough to think of these things, even if they're unrelated to the murders that he's
But
doing.
it's great that they incorporate that in the story and like let you know, like, yeah, he's got it covered, but the cop is just like insistent. And I suppose they have that Batista stuff and her going like off out of town, really to this to move along the kind of trail of clues, because you needed something, I guess, for her to like to trigger her to be like start to be suspicious
The connection.
of Jim,
Yeah.
but she doesn't even. It's almost like she has a problem with Harrison, her not telling him about Harrison. But it's really when the Batista stuff happens that she goes down the rabbit hole. Yeah. So
So basically,
yeah.
okay, I have to talk about this, but before we continue talking about the story, I have to mention that like on a technical aspect, the show is brilliant. It's very very well directed. The score is fantastic. I like the whole aesthetic. It's the complete opposite of what like Dexter was. Dexter was Miami. It was always pretty. It was always sunny. You know, there's one storm, fine, but generally speaking, it's always happy sunny days. Here, it's almost Fargo, kind of
Mm,
very cold, very dark, very grim all the time.
yeah.
I love that aesthetic, but also, as you said, all of the characters that we have, they're all so very nice, so very charming, so very like endearing, and all of the performances were just so good. So on a technical level, I think that everything was perfectly executed. Even the in credit scenes, like they
Oh
they
yeah.
they they mix up like the I guess the textures or the colors of the writing with the original Dexter music over it, the theme.
Yeah. Visually, it's top of the line.
No, yeah,
It's very well
absolutely.
photographed, and
And they have a way of like that one scene where he's captured by one of Kurt's guys, and then he eventually manages to run away, and he's running through the snow, and then he eventually kills the guy. Like they're very good at building tension and
yeah.
and creating this suspense or creating this need for a release like that. I was saying that about Harrison earlier, like Harrison needing to know the truth about Dexter, but like just all of the small moments as well. When Dexter goes to try and kill the guy that sold the drugs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and all of those things. She finds out what's the cop's name. I'm sorry, the girlfriend,
I have the names up on here. Angela.
Angela. Once these are everything he does throughout the show, all the shenanigans that Dexter gets into. Once he gets back into it, it's only leaving more clues for her, and she doesn't find all of them, but she finds a lot of them. She finds the needle mark. She reads the toxicology report, and you as a viewer, if you've seen a lot of these kind of shows, those are the questions you ask. Like, are the cops looking at the tox report? Don't they see that Dexter's using ketamine? Like, why doesn't anybody figure this out? You know what I mean? But she actually goes to the extent of looking at the bodies of the Bay Harbor butcher and seeing the same needle mark in the
It's been
same
rough.
place with the same toxicology saying that there was fentanyl in certain, or whatever. I don't know. It's just the way they lay out the clues for her are very clever and great. But I
Well,
said, like,
it never seemed like too obvious, or it never seemed like there was plot convenience. And that maybe the Batista thing was, but
yeah,
it didn't feel that way. It felt very natural, and like as, as Dexter, I mean, he never wants to show you that he panics, but you can kind of sense him panicking around those last episodes. But Angela, like the growth like the evolution that she goes through a lot, and you can actually feel her. You can feel the performance become more and more kind of like just mind boggled and crazy and very scared as we approach the finale. Not to
her.
mention the finding of the body, right? In the cave.
Oh yeah, with Dexter. No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't with Dexter.
It was with the other guy. It
It
was
was with the other guy, yeah.
secondary
And
cop man.
she sees the bracelet, and that's the first. I think I guess that would be the first body he had to dispose of, and then from then on, like, were there more bodies? That's what I'm wondering. Like, it's a 25-year thing that he was doing, and the women preserved in the cases, are they just like a fraction? Because he was concerned about the general land area, and that maybe if
But
you actually searched further around, you
how
might.
many bodies were there? Like 30? something like that.
Um,
I don't remember, but it. I mean, it. You gotta
I think
remember,
there was
like
20 or something like that,
someone
maybe.
like Dexter Morgan. He's able to kill almost weekly in the sense that he's going out hunting and looking specifically for people that have committed crimes or whatever. But Kurt has to wait for a young woman that's run away from home to pass by his truck stop. Like it's a pretty specific thing, you know. Like he this might not happen. I don't think this happens weekly.
Oh, well, how many does he. There's like one, two. There's three altogether that we know of during the course of this 10 episodes, right?
And of
There's
course, like Molly Park doesn't stick to the code, or well, his code.
well, she's an outsider, I guess. I don't know.
She's not really a runaway.
Or maybe yeah,
Pretty low.
she was getting too close to the
Yeah,
truth. She
that's
was
it. So
nosing
sometimes
around
he
and stuff like
probably
that.
sometimes he probably breaks his own thing. Well, he was gonna kill Dexter's son, right? He's gonna
Yeah,
kill Harrison. That is that's not the same kind of murder.
but the whole setup of this town with the truck stop and runaway girls is more common than you'd think. But I don't think it's like happening all the time. It's just he happens to know how to lure them into like I
Hmm.
have a safe place to stay, like the whole shelter bit. And
Do you think that makes sense? That like, do you
the
think?
girls never notice the camera until it's too late. By the way, it's like even if you just looked and be like, "Huh, what's?" What? And then you see the words on it. I'm watching you right away. Like I mean, it
No,
doesn't
the
matter
words are
anyway.
like
They're
you're
trapped.
you're
But
already dead, is what he
it's
wrote.
yeah, you're already dead. That's fucked up.
Do you think it makes sense that so many of these young women accept to go with him, like back to his shelter or whatever it is? Like, do you think today? Do you think people would do that, or people would just like, no, no, I don't.
Well, maybe a lot of them don't, but you got to look at the context of the situation. He's the owner of the restaurant place. Everybody around him seems to love him and trust him.
Mm,
Rich dude, like if he were to do anything, like wouldn't that be a big deal around here, type of thing. I think
yeah.
in their minds, and a lot of it comes from desperation, and sometimes runaways come from very broken homes, and they've not been taught great judgment and a kind face with some money and a place to stay and a food and stuff. That's the manipulation part of it that
Mm.
is very disturbing.
But you're right. Yeah, maybe he doesn't manage to get them all. Like he doesn't convince all of them, but the ones that he does, that's all he needs, right?
I mean, in actual life, I'm not making this like a man woman thing, but seedy men will use drugs to get girls, just to get girls to either hang out or to do stuff with them
Who,
because they
who,
know they target like some drug like in big city. Have you ever seen it? There's a show on HBO called The Deuce. It's about like the New York and like way back in the day in the 70s or something.
okay.
And all these like girls who come to this big city with nothing, basically just a suitcase and the clothes on their back, just like I'm pretty enough to get something out of it because they're so naive and so broken. And then some guy comes along and says, "I gotta play," then turns her out, and now she's tricking for him. I'm not saying that happened. That used to happen all the time, but
Mm,
it's the whole. It's like a power thing. It's like
mm,
maybe at one point Kirk as a young man really did want to shelter the women for whatever reason. But when the woman ran away and he killed her, that's like the turn where he's like, now I'm into it. I'm a psycho now. Probably always would have been. But do you believe that his dad was doing that stuff and that's
no, I
why
think he
he's
was.
like
I
that?
think
Because this whole theme about blaming your daddy for your own problems that Dexter even brings up himself, and it's like kind of
well,
hypocritical because
okay.
Dexter's trying
So
to mold his son into something that he's not.
he
But
he blames his father for like the first crime that he committed. Like he did that. It wasn't his father. But maybe his dad was fucked up. Like maybe his dad was like abusing women, or just like, and maybe he was in the back, seeing or hearing or aware of
What
what
there
his father
there
was
was
doing.
that's what I'm confused about because I know there was two flashbacks. One where the kid was looking in on the and hearing the dad beat up a woman. I
Hmm.
thought that was the actual flashback of little Kirk listening to his dad being abusive. He like you can't trust him, so like he could have been making it up, but I'm willing to assume he was telling the truth.
Mm.
But it's this whole like, oh, my daddy did bad things excuse or whatever, or
Yeah.
like blaming it on your dad. But then there's another one where it's him when he's older. I got to look back on it because I don't know if it's his
Well, there's
dad
the
and then it's
moment.
him
There's
when
the
he's
moment
older.
where it happens, where like the young girl runs out of the truck and he has to shoot her. Well, he has to shoot her. He chooses to
Yeah,
shoot
that's
her.
Kirk as a young man. Yeah,
Yeah, but that
but
like
there
that.
is an earlier flashback with his dad, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless it's the same, I forget. But the point
Oh,
is, I do think that his dad was a horrible person, that he was like abusing and whatever. But and so that must have fucked him up. But he wasn't. I don't think he was a criminal, like a criminal. I don't think he was a murderer like he is.
the Mary fuck kill girl. She's it's a bit tacky because I don't know what it is about modern TV shows and movies. There's always a podcaster. A
Yes,
podcaster is a character in
I
every movie
agree.
now.
So when the show began, like in the first few episodes, and they introduced this Mary fucking Kill podcast, and Molly Parker, I was like, I don't. Do we need this?
Yeah, I
And I was
was
like,
like,
okay, this is written by old people that don't know how like the internet works or something like that. Like that's my immediate. And then they're always playing the same three like lines of dialogue from her podcast because they only recorded that. They didn't record an entire episode. I was like, do we need it? But by I don't know, like the midpoint of the show, I was kind of accustomed to the relationship and the rapport that she had going on with Angela, the chief of police. And then the fact that she got killed and the fact that it played into all of it, I think it worked out quite fine. It's just initially I always have this moment of like, she does podcasts. That's her entire character because like people are convinced that podcasts are such a big thing or whatever. Like millions of people listen to this girl. She's famous. She can do anything she wants. She can go into any place and push the cops around.
I don't live in a reality yet where I recognize famous podcasters unless they're already celebrities like
Yeah,
Mark Maron
exactly.
or
Right.
or
There's
or rest
someone.
or rest in peace Bob Saget who had a great
No,
podcast
well,
by the way.
isn't Joe Rogan the only famous podcaster, basically?
Yeah, you would say that he's probably the most famous. If you could call anyone a famous podcaster.
Did, did,
It's
did, did
weird because
did Joe Rogan
you
have a thing before the podcasts?
yes, he was a stand-up comedian. He was in a show called News Radio which was moderately successful.
Okay.
Um Joe Rogan he worked with the UFC and he's I wouldn't say he's just a podcast, but somebody who is exclusively famous for just podcasting. I can't think of anything except for yeah, nobody unless they've already been a comedian or Bill
Yeah.
Burr has a podcast. It's a morning thing and he's a cranky dude and he's like really not funny in that podcast so I don't listen to a lot of it.
Oh,
But
really?
it's like fucking sports last night. He's like that kind of guy. I'm like I can't listen to this stuff. You're
He's
not being funny.
he's just your angry uncle in the morning, is that it?
But Mary's style of podcasting is it seems kind of real world because I can see that being a real thing where like and the way she talks like and you wouldn't fucking believe it. She killed a mother with the baby right there in the blood. Like the way she's so crude in her
Yeah, she
delivery.
delivers it really raw. Okay, so
And Harrison's listening to it. That's one of the reasons I think she was there, is information. Same thing with Batista. Like his scene was there too, and it's not cheap. These are narrative tools that help move a story along. Because
that do exist in real life.
I was annoyed by her character at first,
Yes.
and then I kind of grew to like her. At
Agreed.
first, like when she starts spouting like cis white gender, like once you have characters who are these modern people who always start sentences or descriptions of people with their sexuality, race, like they immediately have to identify somebody in some weird like off-putting derogatory way, but it's like cloaked in the guise of like I'm being woke. But yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. People do that in real life. Like,
Yeah,
real
so
life people do that in real life. So it makes sense to put people doing that in your TV shows. Like, you can't pretend like it doesn't happen. The whole point is to make a show about the reality. And there are
that that
there
that's
are
what
two,
makes this feel modern though. Yeah.
yes, there are two other big things. I do want to just address what Blue Spark is saying. He says we clearly don't listen to many podcasts. One of the biggest ones is Jake and Amir. I've never heard of that. Um, or is Jake and Amir the two guys that speculate on Marvel stuff? Is that them? Because I know that wife listens to them sometimes. Listens to two guys speculate about like or theorycraft about like Encanto and other Disney movies and shit. Anyway, so yeah, and he says he's saddened about Bob Saget. But yeah, he says there's a lot of famous podcasters out there. We're just unaware. So yes, we're unaware.
Well, yeah. I
We
mean,
don't know. They talk about
it's I don't like podcasts. I just
hey, look,
I'm a YouTuber.
thing.
Like everything I've experienced with people talking to each other on the internet has all been on YouTube, and it's usually YouTube
That's not
videos
true.
of
You come on
YouTube video,
that.
but YouTube videos of the podcast, like
Oh
with
yeah.
these celebrities and comedians who do their podcast. I never go to their actual thing. I just listen to the YouTube upload it, and
I think the only
yeah.
podcast I've really listened to outside of like maybe the Duolingo one when I was trying to learn Spanish was I listened to Trek Files with Larry Lemachek because like Larry Lemachek would
Oh
talk
yeah.
about Star Trek stuff and he'd talk about like the history of Star Trek and they would pull up old documents and talk about that and he would have like interviews. That was interesting.
Larry's like, I have all the information. He's like he's literally the encyclopedia. There's a show called Center. It's not to get off topic too much. There's a show called Center Seat about Star Trek. He's 9 episodes in, and he's all over that mother. Like he's just talking, like anytime like they need something explained, cut to a shot of Larry Nemeczek. It's like
He knows everything.
he knows
He's lived
everything,
all of it.
everything.
He's
Anyway,
experienced everything.
I
Anyway,
digress.
I need to talk about two things. I need to talk about school shootings
Oh wow.
because they're addressed in this,
Yeah.
and also like Native Americans, Native American rights, and like territory and how the law works. And I think that, and also, well, let's talk about Angela first. Angela, I think it's interesting the way they portrayed her because I feel like it's a very true thing that happens. She's clearly Native, and she like her family lives on like Native territory or whatever it is. But then she's like working as a cop outside of that. She's kind of moved away from that, and she's getting kind of judged from like both sides, I think. And it was an interesting way to address that. It was also interesting the whole white buck or the white deer situation. It was killed on the reserve or on the land.
It was killed on sacred land. Yeah.
Okay, and then they want to dispose of the body in a more respectful way than just I guess what were they gonna do, like trash it?
Yeah. Yeah. That was
What are you gonna do with it anyway? But I enjoyed the fact that they were doing that because more and more I find with like our generation, um, there's a lot of people, and I know that immigration isn't quite the same as like the Native American story, but there's a lot of people of our generation that are born from immigrant parents and that don't necessarily they're not always accepted in the countries that they currently live in, but they don't always have a strong connection to the countries that their parents are from. And so
yeah.
I find it interesting that they kind of addressing like the reality of that, also addressing like the reality of just like the Native American beliefs.
Well, and then think about Native American young girls and stuff going missing throughout the United States. There's a history of that. There's a history of that in Canada with Inuit girls being murdered,
Well, the police
and
don't
and
look
and
into it or
and,
something.
and, and it's like there is the law does get involved, obviously, but it's like they even pointed out in this show about one guy says to the cop at one point, choose a side, but then another mother says about, if this was one of our girls gone missing, would you be so adamant about finding her the
Mm.
way you're doing this white man from outside, who on top of everything else is a huge fucking douchebag who
Horrible.
nobody should fucking care about because he's been responsible for like the deaths of 5 or whatever people. He rammed a boat
Yeah, he
intentionally,
crashed
and
the fucking boat.
like he in the show. I forget the son's name. Who gives a shit? Todd? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I think maybe it's Todd. Yeah, you might be right.
Dude with the titanium stuff in his.
Yeah,
In the show, he's
we'll call him
supposed to
Screw Man.
represent. He's supposed to represent the mega toxic rich white cis. So that's why the podcaster
Well, that
like
yeah, she
points
referred.
that out.
Yeah, she
C-
referred to him
c-
like that because he is that. He is like the guy that no one
but
wants to be. I guess.
but that's a trope in society now that has to be pointed out, like the race, the sexual, like how there's actual groups of people where like, and I'm not objecting to it. I'm just saying who will be like in a group. Hi, I'm so and so. I'm cisgender. Blah blah. Even dating sites now, I believe, like you got to put like your pronouns and stuff like that, which is fine. You can do that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that now shows are starting to reflect that reality where people actually are using those terms in like actual real conversations. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, he's supposed to represent like the worst of mankind, on to the point where he shoots this beautiful sacred animal
Yeah.
on sacred
Fuck
ground.
you, man. What the fuck?
And who would have known that his father is a sadistic fucking
He's
serial
even worse,
killer?
right? His father's even
Yeah,
worse.
it's like, wow, there you go. So,
His
and Dexter,
like as
Dexter, Dexter, cis white man, got to be taken out at the end. But it's not one of these crazy conspiracy things where it's like against the white man. Oh, they're trying to, it's white. No, no, no. It's none of that.
no.
It's just a reflection of reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice how the show is, because that can trigger some people, like, oh, you're getting into these kind of politics now. It's like, no, it's not about politics. It's about storytelling and reflecting the modern world in which Dexter lives now.
Well, I think the show did it quite well. I think it.
It's the best show of the past year. It's like, it's really quite good.
I think it's the best show of 2021.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, like the other show that I would consider best of 2021 is Clarkson's Farm, but that's not so much like a narrative show like that. That's more like a reality documentary styled, I guess.
I would have to think on the best, but I think it definitely be in the top three.
I
I don't
can't
know
think
why
of.
I can't think of the other two though.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I
Yeah,
can't
there
think
you
of
go.
anything else.
Because I'm talking about this though. Yeah.
So yeah, and then school shootings, right? Because
Oh
school
yeah.
shootings, like they've always been, as an outsider to the U.S., school shootings have always been a very U.S. thing, and they've always been much too common, and
Yeah.
now they've become so common that former President Donald Trump would like address two of them in the same tweet because they would happen at the same time. So it's like you can't even make two separate tweets for two separate incidents. You have to tweet them both at the same time. So it was interesting that they had a take on like the whole school shooting story here. Of course, this was all crafted to, well, it was all made to kind of advance Harrison's character.
Yes, but it also does something a little bit different with the whole bully kid
Yeah.
who was bullied wants to shoot up the school kind of thing. The trope that you get
Mm.
in not in real life, because in real life it's very serious and it's very common. Uh, but I'm saying like in TV shows, movies, like there was one movie in particular about a school shooting. It's like very gratuitous and very unnecessarily over the top, and it doesn't deal with it in any kind of sensitive, caring, not caring, but like it sensationalizes it. But this is about a kid who Harrison notices in high school is being catfished.
Mm.
Uh, Tells the kid, like, I'm on your side. These guys shouldn't be at the top of the food chain. Which, this kid who's probably been fantasizing about murdering these kids for a long time, because it's not, you can be severely bullied and not turn out to be somebody who wants to let loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a psychological component there and a parental component as well, or a combination of who you are genetically and how you were raised. But on top of the fact that this kid is tormented, and then Harrison befriends him, and it's kind of this sweet thing. It's like, okay, you're reaching out to the lonely kid who's clearly kind of disturbed. He shows him the drawings, and Harrison smiles at it. He's like, because Harrison's got that dark side. He understands. He can relate in a sense. But then when the kid gets a little too confident with Harrison, is like, hey, yeah, kind of feels that Harrison is like him. You don't see any of this, by the way. This is all like
No, this is all
spoken.
implied.
He's like, I got a kill list. I'm gonna kill. You want to join me? And Harrison orchestrates this thing where he attempted murders this kid, I guess.
Yeah.
But constructs a story where the kid attacked him.
Did Harrison
which wasn't the case.
Did Harrison trigger the kid to go do the shootings? Did Harrison push him over the edge, do you think?
No.
No.
I think what happened was, because they don't go too much into it, but there is that scene where he's on the phone with Harrison and he's videoing him the disturbing drawings. Harrison kind of smiles at it. Harrison doesn't say anything like, oh, but I think the kid thought Harrison would be into the whole shooting thing. I think the kid really did want to shoot up the school, and Harrison was like, well, I've got to take him out. Maybe his intention was to kill him, and then to say afterwards, oh, I defended myself. I didn't mean to cut him that bad. But he knew exactly where to cut him, the femoral artery and all this shit, where the whole Trinity killer stuff. So he knows. He's researched, I guess.
Yeah, he knows.
And being in foster care, he's had to defend himself. But it's crazy how that, and he feels bad. He even goes to the hospital and talks to the parents.
That was a great scene, honestly.
Yeah, it was.
Listen, yeah.
That kid's a good actor, though. I mean, he's not a kid. They're all like 24. All the high school students.
No one was a bad actor in this. I think everyone did a really good job. We haven't talked about Audrey, like his girlfriend.
Can I say one more thing about the whole bully stuff?
Yeah.
Even after the fact, there's a great scene in the gym where Harrison makes the speech about how like he was gonna plan a fucked up thing, but you guys, he confronts the bullies, and he kind of like defends this guy who's going to commit this horrible act, even though he's a kid, he's fucked up or whatever. Yeah, I know. But he's like, this is the culture that we live in, like tormenting the weak. Why do you think the weak turn against you? Why do you think they snap? Why do you think they have psychological breaks and have nervous breakdowns and do fucking insane things? It's because you keep pushing them. But there you go.
It's a whole it's not a black and white situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way I addressed that, I was uncomfortable though with like the party, the kill list party. I felt that was really weird. But then like I was trying to think like, how would it affect you as a teenager to know that you were like potentially gonna die like that very day or whatever it was like. So maybe this was their way of kind of I guess releasing the stress or I don't know, getting over it, mourning what had happened in some bizarre way. But I was kind of uncomfortable with the party. I was like, oh my god, I thought he was gonna leave originally. Like when she brought him to the party, I thought, oh fuck, he's not gonna like this. He's just gonna piss the fuck off.
Even if the kid wasn't going to actually go through with it. To Harrison, it was enough of a red flag that to him that he felt he had to be stopped.
Mm.
Because I don't know what the kid was doing. Was he going to do it in the school? Was he going to do it at the party that we see later? Remember when Harrison gets high? I don't know.
I was expecting Harrison to have a kill. I was expecting Harrison to kill Kurt. I mean, I guess he did get a kill.
What did you think of the dream or fantasy sequence or whatever the fuck that was, where you see Harrison fight the bullies in the house? And you're not told that it's fake, but he's like slices the one guy's throat. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's like obviously this is not real.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I want to say Audrey. We haven't talked about Audrey at all, and now that I think about it, there's
Who's
maybe
Audrey?
Audrey is his girlfriend.
Whose girlfriend?
Harrison's girlfriend.
Oh yeah, the teeny bopper romance. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing much to talk about that, I guess.
Um,
it's just
I'll give them credit for not writing a teenage girl as like snide and bratty and just like, Mom, you want to spend time with me? You're literally a loser. Like that kind of fucking attitude. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
Mom, you love me? Go fuck yourself. Like that's. I hate when they do just teenagers in general. Like they make them so one dimensional. This show does a great job at writing teenagers because not only do you have Harrison's girlfriend who's like just meant to be like a nice, sweet person. Like that's it. There's no pretension. There's no fucking other side to her. There's nothing weird. You know what I mean? And then you have these kids who at first are bullying the potential school shooter, and you fucking hate them. And Harrison's like, oh yeah, I'll see you on the mat. And then like they become like well-rounded kind of characters. And you're like, oh, they're just kids, and they're like actually really just deep down they're nice. Like you know what I mean? They don't fuck around with that stuff. I like it.
Yeah, they're not boxed in as like, oh, these are the bad guy bullies. You know, like they're mean to everyone. They smoke cigarettes and you know what I mean? Yeah, they take drugs in back alleys.
We smoke cigarettes and we ride motorcycles.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, that's not how they made them. They just made them like, it turns out.
And we walk down the street going like this.
It turns out that they like bullying this guy, which is a dick move. But at the end of the day, like, none of them are really mean. And there's always so much attention. Like, they take the time to have, like, the gifts.
I don't understand.
They give them the cap and they give them the sweater.
I don't understand about American high schools and like you've got this like weak person in the high school and everybody just piles on. It's like it's not a reality that I've ever experienced in my life. Usually what happened was if somebody bullied you or messed with you, you pushed them down a flight of stairs and that was the end of it. Like, you know, or you fucking tripped him. I'm not talking about like a big flight of stairs. I'm like literally just like fucked him up a little bit. Not punched on him or kicked him or anything. But
this is how it happens in Canada.
I mean, I was a real prick to a guy and like when I was in grade 7, and just one day he unsuspectingly got his friend to kneel behind me and he just pushed me over him and I fucking tumbled like an idiot and that was the end of it. That's how he got back at me. There's one guy, Edward, who like I told off in gym class. Like he came up to me after and like tried to get into a fight with me. We tussled, and that was the end of it. Like there's nothing really like in the United States. It's
the Canadian show.
You see these shows where some poor like kid who's like skinny in glasses, like he's the weakest kind of specimen there is, and you have these huge 6'2" fucking dudes picking on. Like it's so and that's no. I don't think that's real. I would like to see a high school where the jock is just normal and the nerds are just normal and everybody fucking gets along because that can happen in the world, believe it or not. What? But anyway, I don't think so. My point is the way Dexter deals with teenagers in the show is realistic enough. Like it's very well written. I mean, I think it's very well done.
So were you expecting Logan to die? Coach Logan?
Wolverine? Coach... That was a shock when Dexter...
I put him back.
I was thinking, how is he going to get out of the cage? I thought Harrison was going to like do something. But he kills him, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then that's the
He didn't need to though. That like this of all of
I
the.
don't know.
You think?
Dexter's a he uses the excuse, like he goes along with Harrison. He's like, oh, look, how many lives you saved. Dexter,
Mm.
you realize by the end of this, Dexter truly doesn't care about like the circumstances when it suits him. Like, I don't think he felt any remorse or guilt about
No.
killing the coach. Like, it
No.
was like an afterthought.
If Dexter could live in like a lawless land where he was able to do what he do, I don't think he would like follow the code. I don't think he'd need to have a code. Maybe his psyche needs this kind of code to kind of justify why he's doing it, and he's trying to convince himself that what he's doing is good. But yeah, no, he just kills people because he enjoys killing people. I kind of feel like he didn't need to kill Coach Logan, though. I have nothing against the fact that he did it, in the sense that like people are complaining that they shouldn't have written that into the show, and I have no problem with that being written into the show. But I just don't think he needed to do it. That's true. Then
Narratively, it
again,
worked because he killed an innocent,
mm,
and that ultimately what
that
is
broke
what
his son.
that's the straw that broke the Campbell's back, or the Harrison's back. It's like, and what's funny? I was kind of surprised at how when he points the gun, and what was it? You got to turn the safety off. Was that a thing that happened? Am I thinking of something else? It's like you got to turn the safety off.
Okay, well,
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of Yellow Jackets. Never mind. I'm getting shows mixed up in my head.
okay, no, because
Well,
there. I mean, the only thing really is
he
that
knows
like
to turn the safety off. Never mind.
when Dexter buys Harrison the gun at first, they go out and they shoot beer cans or beer bottles.
Mm,
And we already get like it's already established that Harrison's a good shot, like he's a natural.
yeah.
So when it comes to like shooting Dexter, there's no surprise that he'll be able to like shoot him where he wants to shoot him.
I think people were disappointed too, like how pathetic Dexter's last moments are. His last moments in life as a character that people have been invested in, but the whole point of this, I think, is by the end of it, you're supposed to feel like this about him, like and when he dies, like it's like okay, sure, but because at least you have Harrison now. Like if you want to continue on with like whatever story, you always have that character. If you want to go there, I don't know if they will,
I
but
quite
judging by the
enjoy.
success of this show, they probably will.
I think they will. I quite
Yeah.
enjoy it though when like they don't when there's not that big a deal made about like a death, because like The Walking Dead will have two types of deaths. There'll be one where someone's walking and then they get shot and fall on the ground, and you're like in shock basically. What the fuck? They just killed this character. But then there's the other kind of death where they'll take an entire episode and there'll be flashbacks and people will be talking to them, and it'll take I don't know how long to eventually get to the point where like because they want to make this whole ceremonious goodbye to the character. But in real life, that's not how it works. You don't, if someone gets run over by a car and then dies, it's like that. You know what I mean? It's not a whole thing that's going to last for weeks where you have all of these flashbacks and remember the good times that you had together. It's more direct. And so I prefer that kind of death in shows. I think it reflects more like the shock. And if you don't feel good after the character has died because you were attached to a character in a show, that means that it was done well, basically. Like if you can't get over it, like if you can't get over the death of this character in this season, of this character in that season, then it's well executed. So the fact that people can't get over the death of Dexter now, that means it was done right.
Well, I mean, not for them if they didn't like it. I get what you're saying though. It's like if you have the passion for the thing and then it's gone, it's like now there's never a chance it could come back. Like that's the thing in a lot of people's minds. Like there's no chance of Dexter going on an
Well, a lot of people
incapacity.
wanted a happy ending. A lot of people wanted him to
Oh
like
yeah, that
explain
was
to Angela, "This is what I do." It's like there's no way in real life
that's
she's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, I understand. Let's all go away
yeah,
together and
really.
carry this on somewhere else." No, fuck, that doesn't exist. That's not how it
That's
works.
the Game of Thrones syndrome because the whole thing about Game of Thrones was anybody who was surprised that Daenerys Targaryen, spoilers, turning bad in the end. Go back and watch the show. All
She
the
was
clues were
bad.
there. All the signs of her
Always.
madness were there. I mean, uh,
Yeah. All of
you
these
know what I
people
mean?
naming their children Daenerys before Game of Thrones ended, and they're like, "Oh no, yeah, yeah,
But and with the Dexter, the moments leading up to his death, and before he like accepts the fact that he himself, the character, accepts the fact that he should die. Like he totally is like, yeah, I should be done now. I'm
mm.
like this is not can't go on. I'm only gonna fuck up. I think he realizes at that point he's gonna hurt Harrison. He's gonna end up because he thinks back of Dokes and LaGuardia and is it LaGuardia,
Yeah."
Deborah, and he thinks of all these people and he's like, yeah, no. And then he's actually points to his heart like, shoot me right here, and Harrison. I thought Harrison doesn't even break down. He just kind of like it's very matter of fact for him, and maybe that like quieted his dark passenger for a good bit. Like,
So, do you think
I feel good. I killed my own dad. It's
do
like,
you
yeah,
think Harrison
no, I'm joking.
is a little healed, or do you think he's even worse off than when he got there? Now,
I think if they ever explored his character, he would be the type who wouldn't resort to murder
okay,
unless it was like self defense or
he'd be
like
more like
extreme circumstances.
he'd be more like a vigilante kind of thing, where he would accumulate evidence and then just strap the guy up and leave him there for like the cops or something.
I think he would just be a guy who would be like a Clint Eastwood ish kind of like, if there's trouble, I'm gonna step in. And then if there was a plot of a series you could explore with that character, he messes with the wrong people, and now it's like a no Bob Odenkirk nobody situation.
Mm.
It's like, or John Wick kind of thing. I don't know. It's all the same stuff. I think they should leave it. I think Dexter is.
I think
This
they
is a
should
good.
leave it.
This is a good conclusion to the whole thing. It
I'm
was meant to.
expecting something though. I'm expecting them to pull out like a spin-off for Harrison. Like I feel like they're not gonna leave it alone because it's a successful franchise now. What is it? Like
But the tricky thing about that is that what are people expecting from a Harrison TV series? Are they expecting him to be Dexter 2.0? Because if he's not, there could be a level of disappointment there. But if they go with my idea where he's kind of just like a guy, a stranger in town, fucking defends the helpless people or whatever. I don't fucking know.
so was this a conclusion to Dexter's story or was it like an origin story for Harrison or was it both?
I don't know what they're planning. I hope it's not some kind of contrived. The thing is with him at the end, you can it should leave you with a sense of like, I think he's gonna be okay, like that kind of thing. Like I
Yeah.
don't think he's gonna go on murder sprees. I think it's possible for this kid who, like Dexter, born in blood, had the whole situation of seeing a horrible thing as a 3-year-old or whatever. You're not destined to be a psychopath.
Okay, so you think the message we're supposed to get from the end is like he took the money, he went away, and he took the freedom that he was given by Angela, and then just went off to live a normal life as best he can. He still has a dark passenger, or do you think that's gone? Or
Here's
did
the
the
here's the
dark,
way I would here's the way I would play it. He has
when
a
he
dark
killed?
passenger, but he doesn't need to kill. But
Mm,
he needs to retaliate against those who do others wrong. Like he's got that kind of like thing about him.
okay.
Would that kind it would be like a situation with the kid in school who wanted to shoot her. He's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be a friend to you. Oh wait, you're actually somebody who wants to kill a bunch of people. No, I'm gonna take you out, kind of thing. Like he it's almost like a dude who would be looking for trouble just to get that rush or get
Mm.
that hit. But yeah, I don't want to see a show with Dexter's son who's a serial killer chopping up body. They had 7 seasons of that in one show, and it was 7 seasons of Dexter, right? Yeah. No, it was eight. Eight.
It was 8. This is like the ninth
Eight season.
season, kind of, I guess.
This is a nice book. It's a nice conclusion. Leave it alone.
I think so too. I think it's a satisfying ending, and I think it's one of the like if you were to clump it into like just if you were to say Dexter is now 9 seasons, I think this is one of the strongest seasons.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best
The
since.
best season?
It's the best since the fourth. Definitely.
Yes.
5, 6, 7, and 8 are they're okay.
Well, six is Colin Hanks. People enjoyed that one.
I don't know. I like the whole revelation in that about how Edward James almost never existed. He was just frozen in a freezer or something. What was that all about? What the fuck? I was like, really? Even when you rewatch it, you're like, no, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. The first, actually, I'm not a huge fan of the first season.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not even crazy about the second. The third and the fourth are really like the peak of that show.
I
The
have
Jimmy
trouble
Smith's season and
What?
John Lithgow one.
I have trouble with the third season because the third season is very different. Like he's like in the first 2 seasons, it's very I don't know how to say this, but watching Dexter for me, the original show was very like appeasing. It was very calming because although he's killing people, and it's a horrible like subject matter, it's very I guess methodic. He's doing it very cleanly. There's like a certain like calculated method to the way he's doing it. And as I said, it's always sunny. It's nice. The music's cool. Like there's a certain vibe. But then in season 3, when he starts, there's the whole family thing, and he's trying to pretend to be someone else, and then like it's becoming more difficult for him. I guess the show does a good job at showing that because it becomes more panicked. I feel it's more chaotic, and so it's not as relaxing for me to watch. So I have more trouble with season 3. You know what I mean? But I mean, I'm not saying it's not well
I
done.
know. Yeah.
It is well done. Season 4 is like peak television. Basically, it's one of the best seasons that have been produced on television. I like season 5. I know that people didn't like it too much, where he's trying to help this girl get back at the people that raped her, I think it was, or tried to.
It's season 5, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. Season 6, I don't like it as much as season 4. I still do think it's good, and I have a soft spot for Colin Hanks. And then 7 and 8, I can't differentiate them, first of all.
They're like a blur. It's just a blur towards
Yeah.
the end.
And it's like a
bullshit.
blur. It's like a blur to the end. It's like a blur to the storm. That's what happens. So I'm not. Yeah. And this is.
The whole thing with Hannah started in season 7, I believe.
But I don't like her.
I don't like her at all. No.
That's the problem.
The actor herself does a great job in The Handmaid's Tale, but
Yeah, I got
she's
nothing
amazing.
against
She's
the-
amazing in that show. But
Okay, nothing against the actor. It's the character. I don't like the character. Like I was
I
very.
almost didn't like the actress because of the shitty character that she.
I
I'm like,
agree.
this
That happened to
this
me for a
actor's not
while.
doing a good job. I was thinking, but I'm like, no, she's actually pretty good.
No.
It's
just that
just really is just the character.
I enjoy. See, I enjoyed his. I enjoyed, Harrison's mother, like the wife.
Oh, did you? No.
Were they married? No, they weren't married. They were just. It was just his girlfriend, right?
No, they got married.
Oh, they got married? I forgot.
Didn't they?
I don't know. He got married with the second one. He got married with Hannah. Or did he never have time to get married with
No. Oh my God, who did Dexter get married?
I don't know. Anyway, I enjoyed
Dexter and Rita married. Yes, in the third season finale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
you take Dexter Morgan, Rita, and Dexter get married.
I enjoyed her. And then I actually very much enjoyed the girl from season 5 there that he helps out.
Julia Stiles.
Julia Stiles, is that her name?
That's the actress's name.
Okay, Julia Stiles. Oh yeah, that's
You see, the thing is, they peaked with the Trinity killer thing in season 4, and like they couldn't top it. They just anytime they tried, like they just couldn't. I
Well,
mean,
that's why season
maybe
five.
season 6 was the best since, but it still wasn't good in my
Well,
opinion.
that's
But
why season 5 is good, because season 5 doesn't try to do the Trinity Killer again. It does something different.
yeah,
It does something different where he has like an ally, and he has like this girl that wants revenge, and she wants to be vindicated. She wants to kill these people. So I think that works. When they try to do Trinity Killer again, with uh, you know, Colin Hanks and the Freezer, um, it's not as good. It still works. And then like season 7 and 8, I don't know.
yeah.
But this, and then this comes along, and it's as good as Trinity Killer, in my opinion. He's as horrible in a sense, like he's as fucked up, but there's a certain realism that I don't like. I felt like this was more truthful or more raw than like older seasons, more visceral in a way than older seasons of Dexter.
Well, season 4 with John Lithgow, I don't think anybody can top him in terms of creepiness. Like especially when you got to know his family and his
Mm.
relationship with his family, which is like, whoa! It's just so awkward. Like when they're at the dinner table, he's like, "Shut up, c word." Like he'll just turn on anybody. Like he seems like I'm a normal person, and then he just turns into a monster.
Yeah, he
Like it's
will. Yeah.
very scary. This Kurt guy, in terms of a serial killer villain that Dexter has to take down, is up there with Trinity. Not as good, I don't think, but Clancy Brown is just fucking. He's one of the best, and he does a great job.
Oh yeah.
And he really sells uh, the duality of these serial killers. You always have these. You hear in real life about how somebody did these horrible crimes, and you're like, nobody never would have thought it because they seem so normal and put together and nice and neat and friendly
Mm.
and sociable. That's another thing. Like these psychopaths apparently are very good at like faking being.
See, we're not psychopaths because
I'm antisocial.
we're antisocial. We don't know how to interact with other people, so
I
we
can't
can't
even look at. I can't even look at you when you're talking.
we we, we can barely have conversations with each other. We can't do it with like strangers. So
People tell me that they're like, you don't look people at people when you're talking. You kind of like don't look at them. I'm like, I don't care. Maybe I don't look at them because I don't like their
look
face.
someone in
No,
the
I'm
eye,
joking.
though, wouldn't it? Like just to like stare them down, stare into their soul as you talk to them. It's kind of
Hello,
weird.
how are you today?
I hate it when you become very aware of where your eyes are during a conversation.
Oh
Like
yes,
you know what I mean?
I find some people when they're doing video chats or like doing this kind of thing, like Kevin Smith or like certain people like who know
Oh, they
like
look into
about
the camera.
they look directly into the camera when they're speaking to the person, even though they're not literally looking at the person.
Look at the fucking person. It's
It,
weird.
it it makes the other person feel like you're looking right at them, like it looks like I'm looking right at you right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's crazy.
I don't do that.
It's
But
creepy though. It's creepy. It feels
it would
weird.
it would actually be better for my real life human interactions if everyone had like a webcam here and then a little screen here, so I
Ah,
could look at the screen of
yes.
the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going down a fucking rabbit hole there. Anyway, Dexter New Blood. I think it was awesome. I'm gonna bring up the chart
Do you
because
have any viewers, by the way? I can't see.
no, not at the moment. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. I don't do this for the viewers. I do this so that we can chat.
I thought there was like going to be 500 people here.
You really thought that?
No.
I should have invited Michael C. Hall.
I would give this a mediocre. No.
What damn?
No. I lie. I lie.
What would you give it? Where would you rate it?
A true greatness.
A true greatness?
Uh,
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it deserves that.
I think it deserves a true greatness. That doesn't apply to Dexter, by the way. Like the whole show as a whole, it applies to this specific mini.
This is a separate mini series. It's basically a 2 hour or 10 hour movie.
Yeah, I agree. Dexter New Blood is solidly in true greatness. There's There's not a moment where I was bored. There's not a moment where I was disinterested and was watching away. All of the performances are really, really, really good. Yes, the big kind of moments and all of the denouement, whatever, is kind of sorry in episodes 9, like 8, 9, more than it was in 10. But
It's a
still,
slow burn when you go back and look at it, but
oh yeah,
it's not, it doesn't drag. Like
no,
it's necessarily paced, I would say. Like
necessarily paced.
it's not, it doesn't go too fast and it doesn't go too slow. Like I said, the only thing about the whole podcaster and the Batista thing are devices, I think, to move certain
Yeah,
things along, but that's fine. I don't care.
that's tools. Like yeah, it's tools that the writers use to move the plot along.
At least they made the podcast girl, like, you know, kind of charming in the end. Like at first I was like, I'm not gonna like her, and then I was like, oh, I like her.
Well, it's
And then
because she's very.
when she was dead in the thing, all embalmed,
Oh yeah,
you could tell like those were actually actresses just
yeah,
staying
that's
still,
fucking weird,
which was
eh?
creepy as hell. But when you see her, I was like, oh no, that's where she went. Because you don't see her die, right? Am I
No,
mistaken? Okay.
Dexter saves her basically,
Yeah.
and then she kind of disappears, and you kind of assume. I
That
didn't
Kurt.
even assume she had left. I just assumed that the plot had gotten to a point where they had other things to talk about, so
Yeah.
they were just kind of not going to address her again. That's what I thought. I was like, okay, they have too many things to do now that they can't spend time on the Molly.
Her latest podcast is like, oh my god, you guys, I was fucking murdered by this guy, Kurt. He embalmed me and stuck me in a fucking case. Like, that's the way she talks in the
Yeah,
show.
you
Like,
won't fucking believe what happened.
every second word's the F word with that woman. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to listen to her podcast though.
I was really sad when she died, when I found out she was dead at the end. And I was just genuinely disturbed when, like I said earlier, when the cop goes down there
Mm.
and she's looking at each one, she knows every single person there because it's, you know what, there's some things like
And that is,
they didn't need to flash back to the bulletin board with all the missing girls on it to remind us that like this is how she knows their names. She could have just saw them and said, you know, so and so, so and so. You didn't need I mean, I understand what they were going for, but I mean, we understand why she would know each and every one of these
mm.
girls.
But I think it is also like a reflection of modern times to actually take the time to name the victims.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of complaints have been made over these past years that we always kind of, I suppose, glorify, like the media or like the movies, what have you, glorify the killers, and then you end up never really knowing the victims' names, but you kind of know the names of the murderers, of the killers.
Yeah.
And here it was nice to take the time to actually say like the names of the victims, and of course it added like that horrifying aspect.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
You're just sitting through that like, oh my god. And it was just really fucking creepy. I didn't think we were going to go back down there. That must have been an awkward day on set though. Like,
Oh, they were, you know in real life they were like just laughing and carrying on, and then like
yeah,
time to get serious.
yeah,
You
okay,
got to be there's got
yeah,
to be
you have
levity,
to,
or else it's just like grim as hell, right?
because even the clown thing, right?
Lights, camera, action. Play dead, girls. Don't move. Don't breathe.
That's what
It's
shocks
like,
me the most though, when you have things with like, because that's all adults, but when you have like the clown scenes with the kids and shit, like, do you explain? Do you not explain to the child actors?
oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know the protocol for any of that
I
stuff.
don't know. I don't know either. It must be fucking weird.
But I think the most disturbing part of the entire show, and the part where I start to realize, like, oh yeah, this is not gonna end. I mean, I figured it wasn't gonna end well anyway, but like now it's like a guarantee it's not gonna end well. When he kills Kurt, and Dexter's like, they all blame it on their fathers and blah blah blah. And it's like kind of like, hey dude, you're this kid's dad and you're trying to teach him to do these awful things. Harrison is trying to stomach it, but then you actually when you see Dexter actually go through the process of the hacking and the explaining it in a very technical way, it's fucking gross, dude.
Yes.
It really is, because in the show it was often like he does the stabby thing, cut to after everything's done,
And then he's dragging bags around.
and he's dragging bags around, and it's like you might see him stuff a severed head in there, or something like that, but it never feels like as gritty as real as it did when he's dismembering Kurt. It's it's really gross.
Yes.
And you're like,
Like,
no, this. I can't believe I watched 7. You're thinking, I can't believe I watched 8 seasons of a guy doing this. It makes you feel like kind of like shitty for liking Dexter in any way. You know what I mean? Because at the end, I think you are meant to be
sympathetic to
truly,
him.
no, not sympathetic, truly disgusted by him. You're meant to be sympathetic toward Harrison. I think you're supposed to root for. I think you're supposed to root for Harrison.
Oh, at the end
too.
of this season specifically, at the end of this.
In the show, you just want him to keep the old show. You just want him to keep killing the bad guys. Whatever. It's like they have the formula, but they always have they stray from the formula to mix it up with almost never good results past season 4. But this, by the end, I think you're supposed to think Dexter bad, Harrison fucking get away from this guy, try and be normal, and even Deb says there are alternatives. You don't have to teach him this code shit. There's things like therapy and medication, maybe. I don't fucking know. Dexter's so obsessed with turning him into himself, having a little Dexter, that he doesn't even consider the other options.
He wants to have this little apprentice or this little sidekick with him. And he's so convinced he can turn it into a father-son business.
And that's the true psychopath element of the Dexter character, is that his idea of love between him and his son is this dark, disturbing pattern of homicide and dismemberment.
Yeah, sharing the kill.
It has nothing to do with actually having Harrison live a healthy, normal life. Yeah. It has nothing to do with that. But
he's so pleased when Harrison has this dark passenger.
It's like, oh,
he's just like me.
He's like me.
Fuck you.
It's like, actually, no, he's not, man. He's not like you. You're trying to. It's that syndrome with dads, I think, trying to mold your son into what you couldn't. Oh, he could be a better version of me. I played football, but I never made it. Maybe my son can, you know what I mean? Or basketball, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know sports.
I got away with hundreds of murders. Maybe he can do thousands.
Yes. What was he thinking? Seriously, what was Dexter, thinking? That's the thing. Where'd you expect anything to go? It's almost like the need or the addiction to the killing that Dexter has, I would say, clouds his judgment, but he still has his wits about him in terms of his forensic knowledge. Even he admitted in this season, he was getting soft. One of the best scenes is, I think, in episode 2 or 3, maybe, when they're the forensic guy from the town.
Oh yeah,
is doing the thing, and Dexter's foreshadowing everything that he's going to say and do.
And at first he's very judgmental. At first Dexter's very they brought in this fucking clown. He won't understand anything. And then the guy's not bad. The show shows you that the guy's not bad. He figured out, and then there's this ounce of respect that comes into Dexter. He's like, you know what?
The guy figures out right away that Dexter tried to cover Todd's, I guess I'll call him Todd. Todd's blood with the blood of the animal, slit the animal.
And then he's like, okay, I might actually have a problem with this forensic guy that they brought in, because he's thinking he's gonna be this hick that doesn't know anything.
And he was also sloppy in the sense that Dexter noticed that he had implants, or he had rods, because he sees scars on his leg, and never once did Dexter think maybe that could be a problem.
You'd think that checking inside the leg isn't, it's not nearly as disgusting as cutting someone into pieces. So you could check the leg. Take the time to do it,
Yeah, it's really it's one of those things where it just shows you how sloppy he was getting, because if he's dismembering the body, wouldn't he be like, oh well, I'm gonna get rid of these
Screws.
titanium screws? Like, yeah, but anyway, it was all a way for Kirk to figure out that Dexter did it.
The funny thing is, like, you could literally bury these titanium screws anywhere, like in a forest there,
Yeah.
under the underground. No one would ever find them.
If you throw them real hard, you can get them into space. Or like just throw them in the lake or the ocean or whatever.
Yeah, throw
There
them
you
in the fucking lake. Yeah.
Disposing of evidence 101.
Disposing of evidence. Yeah. Follow our pro tips for disposing of evidence.
I
Just throw it
feel
somewhere.
I
Throw it on
feel
the field.
bad people will learn things from shows like this. No.
That is always a thing that I had. Like every time I don't know, like a whodunit or a really serious like crime thriller or something shows you how these murderers get away. I'm like, so first of all, the people that write this stuff, how do they even come up with these ideas? And then I'm thinking,
Well, they're
are the people,
fantasizing about murder, obviously.
yeah, probably. And then I'm thinking, are other people watching these shows thinking like, oh, I could do that. You know what I mean? Oh, I could pull that off. That's a clever thing.
There's a type of it's a real thing. It's a type of person out there who will only watch murder stuff, investigative, like real life, first 48 hours, kind of like
Oh,
anything.
really?
I have a relative who's like that, like a normal movie or whatever, like
No
it
fiction.
doesn't have to do with a murder mystery or cops or
Oh, okay.
criminal underground or anything, drugs. It's like it's not of interest to that
So no
person.
Narnia.
Like, oh Jesus Christ, Star Trek or sci-fi, anything like no, not even, not even like animation or romance or just like it's literally just I call them murder porn addicts.
So it's true crime, is it, or not even
True,
necessarily true crime?
it's true crime or fictionalized shit. Like
Okay, that must be
I've
really,
known a couple of
really.
people like that actually who just really are only into like that kind of thing.
That must be really, really heavy. Like,
Well, maybe they're secretly murderers and they just want to get some tips.
it's tips and tricks on the
Tips
murder
and
channel.
tricks from a TV show written by people who are not actual forensic experts. Whatever.
I feel like the show has always done a good job at like, I guess the laboratory lingo and what have you, and the forensic kind of lingo. Maybe it's because I don't know anything about the job. Maybe like a real forensics professional would look at it and be like, "Nah, this is not at all what happens." But I feel like it was good enough.
I'm Dexter Morgan, forensic guy extraordinaire. I find the blood spatter. I do my tests. I figure out the killer. Talks.
I'm sure there's a YouTube channel out there that has like a forensic expert breaks down or watches these scenes or whatever it
This
is.
Dexter show is bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. I tried doing this. I got caught. All
Oh
right.
God.
Okay, let's leave it at that. We're almost at 2 hours talking about this. It's a great show. It's a true greatness show. We both thought it's true greatness. We had a great time. It was. I think it was a good goodbye for Dexter, like for the character and for what the show was. Maybe they'll do a spin-off. I don't know. I think it would be good if they left it as it is. I think it would be good. It would work.
You need a spin-off of retired Batista. And it's just him, like, it's just a regular show where he just goes to the supermarket and, like, he's pretty lonely and he just watches TV and stuff.
No, there's what's the guy's name? Dexter Cast. What's that character's name? I forget. Vince Masuka.
Masood, oh, the lab guy.
Yeah, someone saw there's an Easter egg on Batista's screen where he's received an email for Vince's. Batista's invited to his bachelor party.
Oh God, I gotta be honest. Like his character was like really uncomfortable. He was just,
He does Star Trek references.
but his whole thing was, I'm a constant perv, and that's all I am. Like that's all. Even like stuff with his own daughter was fucking awkward, and it's like okay. And he had. You go back and watch that. His obsession with transsexuals, and they use the word tranny a lot, and they were very insensitive to that group, like in that show. I don't know what it was about the writers. They laid off it in later seasons, but there was a lot of transsexual jokes.
Really?
I don't know, like the degree of transphobia within the jokes or whatever, but it was always like Masuka was obsessed, and that was kind of to say that maybe he was into them, but like his jokiness was a way of like covering up for it or something. But they never could deal with certain things back in. You look back in those shows like in the 2000s. There's stuff like, oh yeah, that was a different time. Like people were very like ignorant of certain things.
Well, he's
You wouldn't talk like you would never talk like that now. Masuko would have been canceled 10 times over if he showed up in this show again. He was a creepy, like that's all his character would like. I guess there was moments of like
he was trying to be the fun, like they wanted him to be the funny character, wasn't
but
that?
they never made him funny. They just made him gross. Like their idea of making him funny was like, oh, tits and vagina, and like that's all he was. That's all he was. Who's the other douchebag that went out with Deb? The guy who was all talking like this all the time. He got all coked up in one season and got really skinny.
Which one is that?
The dude that Deb dated, the blue-eyed guy, fucking spiky hair douche brag.
She dated the guy from Arrow.
Fuck. The guy from Arrow.
Yeah.
No. Blue-eyed, douchey-haired, spiky-haired dude. That's not the guy from Arrow.
Blue-eyed, spiky-haired douche dude.
The guy who's in the show.
Oh yeah, this guy.
The douchey dude.
The douchey dude.
The dude who's literally made of a douche.
Wait a minute. Share screen.
You know, he talks like this, Deb. Oh, Deb, I'm from the I'm a cokehead. I'm a fucking asshole.
Is it this guy?
Yeah, Joey Quinn. Why did I forget about Joey Quinn? I also forgot about Peter Weller. Remember that whole subplot with him and Peter Weller? RoboCop? Frank Lundy. There you go. Yeah, I didn't like him. I didn't like Quinn. Hey, Deb. He always sounded like he was drunk or high.
See, this is the guy from Arrow.
Yeah, that's.
What's his name again in Arrow?
He ain't blue-eyed and spiky-haired.
No. I forget what his name was in Arrow. I haven't seen that show.
Oh my God, he was just in Superman and Lois.
Oh, really? Spoilers, come on.
Ah, shit. Why don't I remember? See, this is the problem with.
He's from like episode 1 too. I don't know how I don't remember him.
It's one of these things where you watch so much you can't keep track of the names of every fucking single character and everything you've ever watched.
It's too much.
John Diggle. How could I forget that?
Diggle, okay,
That's
Diggle.
that's a memorable name, John Diggle. It's like I remember John Borman from Arrow. Fucked if I know what his character was. I just remember him just being
Merlin.
Merlin, yeah. Is it Malcolm Merlin? Yeah. Anyway, what are we talking about?
We were talking about Dexter. Well, we're finished. That's
we're finished.
That's the end of it.
You're gonna do an Expanse discussion because
I think I will. I will.
Series finale. A lot of series finales coming.
I will have to do an Expanse discussion and.
Do you plan on discussing Downton Abbey: A New Era? No,
not really.
I'm joking.
I think it's very good, actually.
What?
Downton Abbey.
You watched it?
No, I haven't seen A New Era, but I've seen. Well, I'm watching Downton Abbey with my wife at the moment.
You watching the show?
Yes.
And you've not seen the movie yet?
I've seen the first movie.
Okay. So you saw the movie first, now you're watching the show after.
Yes.
Because the show starts in 1912. It starts
Yeah,
like the day after the Titanic sunk or something, and
that's it. It
they're
starts with
literally
like
reading it in the newspaper.
yeah, episode one. They make a whole deal. It's like 1912, and there's a whole big thing. I'm like, what the fuck happened in 1912? I'm trying to think when was what's his face assassinated, and I'm thinking no, that's in 14, and then it hit me. I was like, oh, this must be a Titanic thing, and then they
It's
reveal that.
it's funny because the show goes from 1912 and it throughout its course. I think by the movie it's like 1925 or something. But anyway, Maggie Smith has complained like my character must be like 120 years old by the end of it, like because she's already old as hell in the first season in
Yeah, she really is.
1912. So how the fuck old is she in 1925 or 26?
It's just like in Harry Potter. She gets younger or older. Harry Potter, she got older in Fantastic Beasts. I think it was.
Oh, I don't know. But there's a movie called Hook, just to end off on something weird, where Maggie Smith plays somebody aged up about 30 years.
Hook.
So
As in,
it's a younger Maggie Smith in old age makeup.
Hook, as in with Robin Williams. There.
Yeah, yeah. So Maggie Smith in the movie actually has like old age prosthetics, which makes her look like almost kind of what she looks like now. It's the same thing with like Max von Sydow in The Exorcist, where he was like in his 40s, but he plays a man in his 80s. So if you look at The Exorcist from the back in the day, it kind of looked like him like in his old age. That's the true test of old age makeup. If they actually end up looking like
Yeah,
that.
that's actually pretty good. Like the Hook makeup is not that bad actually.
I think she's in her late 40s or 50, early 50s there, and she's playing somebody in her 80s or 90s.
Yeah, it's not bad because like Old Man Picard in what's it called?
All Good Things.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, but also in the episode with the flute. What's it called?
Oh God, that's the what. The makeup in that episode almost ruins it. But anyway,
Yeah,
so bad. It's
really,
just like
they really
put more
failed.
putty on his face. Put more putty. Stick more putty on there.
They really failed his makeup in that one. Because then you cut to him and Logan, you're like, well, I mean, okay.
Yeah. They did a much better job with All Good Things. Like it's like it's still 90s old age makeup, but it is monumentally better than what they did in The Inner Light. They looked back in The Inner Light. We can't do that shit again. So when they aged him up 25 years, they're like, we gotta really try. Riker doesn't look all that great. He looks like people with fatter faces when they put age makeup on tends to make their face look just bulkier or fatter.
Yeah, they make them look fatter and then they put gray in their hair. Like, oh, he's old.
Janeway's old age stuff was subtle and good in that one. What are we talking about here? This is off-air stuff.
All right. Okay. Thank you to anyone who watches this later on, because there's no one watching now. Thank you for Blue. Thank you for sticking around and talking to us. And hi to Ruben. I have no designated sign off for ABTG. Like I can't say live long and prosper. What are we saying? Tonight's the night. Is that the Dexter thing to say?
Just say goodbye. Have a nice day.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Goodbye and be well. Goodbye and be well.
Goodbye and be well.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. See ya.
All right.